Hey everybody, Tom's here, and today we are going to give the Timberking 2000 a run for her money. The log you see there, let me come around the other side. Now my tape measure failed on me, so there's that. We're talking about 34.5 inches or so. That's a big log. Length on this. So can you hold this over? Length is about 10 foot right now, and on the small end we're at 30 inches. So needless to say, this is a very, very large log. This log right here is going to be for a customer's custom bathroom countertops. Now this log's not that old. This came out of a front yard up in Tennessee. So the attack plan for this right here. What's my attack plan? So let me turn my light off here, I don't know why it's on. The attack plan is I'm going to use the current blade on there to do the external cuts because it is a yard tree. Yard trees may have nails. I'm also going to take my chainsaw here once I tighten up the chainsaw bar, or the blade, excuse me. I'm going to take off about a foot, try to get some of this bell section off because I don't need that. I need a 28-inch wide countertop, if you will, where it's flat on one side and live edge on the other. And once I cut this end section off, again, I only need to be 8 foot long. I need two pieces 8 foot long. Once I cut off about a foot here, that'll leave me with 9 feet to work with, and I'll get rid of all this junk down here, just where the tree fell. I want to make sure there's no checks or splits down there, but it gives me a foot to work with. And a foot to work with, it will be good because we'll see what the rest of the log looks like. Uniform, for the most part, it does. Again, about 30 inches, 28 to 30 inches on this side, and again 34, almost 35 inches on this side. There are a few knots, not very many down there, and I have those again towards the saw head. I want to be cutting into, so then as the tree limbs grow up, you know, they're growing that way. I want to cut into the tree limb that way. If I had it the other way, with my blade going that way, that would cause potentially blade to rise up the actual limb. So I think I talked about that in my if you've got wavy board video. So yeah, this is gonna be a big cut, folks. I mean, we are gonna be literally maxing out the mill on a lot of stuff here, so we'll see how she cuts. I had to move it over here with the tractor, barely getting it up off the ground. We ran the rough numbers on this log. This log, well, if it was 9 foot long, it's actually 10 foot long, so it's probably a little bit more, but at 9 foot long, this is about a 2,700 pound log as it is. I'd say it's a little bit more with that bell section on there. So without further ado, let's load her on there. After I'm going to cut this end off first. I'm not going to show that in the video, but we'll cut the end off first. Then we'll load it on there using the loader because it's more than I want to lift up there with the tractor because I don't have any weight in the back. So stay tuned. All right, folks, we have cut off the end piece here. Now we have a nice flat level piece here to work off. So whenever you're bringing that blade up, you're not going to run the risk of hitting some kind of stub or something that's sticking outside the bottom of the log. Now, after taking some of this bell section off that we have here, we're now at 33 inches, very uniformly all around the base of this log, and on the other end, again, about 29-ish inches or so. So, and it's at 9 foot long now. So we have a foot again to work with. That leaves me and the customer a little bit of wiggle room to make sure we get what we need out of this. So the blade that I currently have on the mill is an older blade. But again, since this is a yard tree, I'm gonna go ahead and run that older blade on the outside, and all I'm doing is getting my reference cuts. Now looking at this, there's really no checking or anything. Our widest slabs are going to come out around the pith, but this is pine, and pine typically doesn't move. I'm going to look back at the order the customer put in, but I believe we're cutting these at 3 inches thick. I'll have to look again, but I'll put that in the video and show what I'm cutting. But the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to throw it on the mill, and we're going to cut off our nastiest side. It's always been a good practice of mine to cut off the nasty stuff. What I mean by the nasty stuff on this log is we're gonna cut those limb sections off. Because this side right here and the other side, I didn't see any limbs whatsoever. So by cutting these limbs off, that will remove any area where the blade might dip or dive, because they're probably gonna be more towards the outside. That's where your harder section is gonna be. So stay tuned. I'm gonna show the loading of this onto the sawmill with the loaders, and then we're going to do some adjusting to figure out where we're going to cut. All right, so I know as soon as I put this thing on there, it's gonna like take up the entirety of the screen. Modified something right there. So we're gonna go and lift this up. I don't use my lifters very much, so I'm kind of slow with them. But we've cleaned up the sawmill a little bit. We've made sure we have lubricant and everything. Blade tightened up. So I'm gonna go ahead and load this on there. Then we'll turn it till we get our nastiest side up, and that'll be the first cut we do. So here we go. Almost in a good location. So when I say almost, I've got my notch right here, although I want to turn it a little bit more. I'm just trying to figure out if that will work. Yeah, let me turn it a little bit more. It had no problem lifting it up there. I was just taking it nice and slow because, again, I don't use it much, and I always for some reason think that it's going to rack it over so hard and hurt something on the mill, because this is essentially a 3,000-pound log. So let me try. I might have to rotate this log quite a bit to get to where I want it. So stay tuned. Here we go. Feels like it's a pretty good location there. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to a time lapse now. But I have my nasty limb sections up, and I'm just hoping and praying that this blade will make it through it. But again, all I'm trying to do, I'm gonna take some measurements. All I'm trying to do is make sure I get the maximum width that I can. So here we go. All right, folks, with the new blade on there, it's been cutting absolutely fantastic. The next cut we're gonna do will be a 3-inch cut. We are currently at 28 inches wide on the face of this side, about 25 or so down there. The next cut should give me what I need. I believe it's gonna be really close. And then the following 2 cuts after that should definitely. So I'm gonna have 3 boards to choose from, cutting them at 3 inches thick, only because of how wide they are. I mean, we are literally maxing out a lot here. I'm gonna have to lower down my log stops even further. I can find my hand there. I'll move those log stops down a little bit further so that we have clearance and everything. And I'm gonna also have to manipulate the log. Now, I don't know if you can tell this in the hyperlapse, but when I first did the cut before this one, when I was cutting into the log, I actually had to stop, and then you might saw the log move a little bit over. What I had to do is, it wasn't clearing on the frame on that side, so I had to use my log dog underneath, slightly lift up, and then pull it over. I tried moving by hand, I don't know what I was thinking, but it didn't work. So long story short, using the log dog, that did work, and now we have a really, I'm talking, this is some clean pine right here. I mean, yes, it is plain sawn. Now the next cut will have some quarter sawn to it. There's only essentially like about 3 knots. Not too shabby, but I think he's gonna be very, very happy with this looks. I mean, I like the way this looks, and it's a nice clean log. It was cut down here recently, so it will take some time to dry. And we're gonna cut this again at 3 inches thick, so it gives him a little more room to work with, because the final product he's wanting is about 2.5 inches. So after drying, and then after finishing, that'll give him some room to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw on probably a real-time cut. I'm not cutting fast, this is a very wide cut, and then we'll show something on that, so stay tuned. away only at 2.5 inches. And it was partly my screw up, but good because the last cut wasn't quite wide enough. It was shy by just a hair. This cut right here will be wide enough. I'm at 30 inches right here. I'm at 28 inches right there. And I'm 28 down there. So this next cut will be 3 inches. So I'm back on true scale. But the only thing though is it just, I guess I didn't hit set return, or maybe I brought the mill head down previously on a different scale, then changed. I don't know what I did exactly. So, but it's okay. I've got plenty of log to work with, and in fact, the last cut wouldn't have worked anyway. So it's better that I'm doing what I'm doing now. Again, next 2 cuts will be at 3 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in a time lapse because these are slow cuts. I'm cutting really slow. The saw is cutting great. I mean, the finish, the quality on top is great. I don't see any issues with blade or anything. I'm very happy with the way the cut's looking. So we're gonna go ahead and do the next 2 at 3 inches. That'll get us what we need. And yeah, I actually might get a 3rd one out there still. So we'll see. We shall see. Or the one I just cut could be the screw up piece, just in case. So stay tuned. Folks, there you have it. That was pretty impressive. I ran the water heavy. You can see the log is absolutely dripping. And on the small end, those slabs were getting to be 29 inches. On the big end down here, I think they're 32, 33. So that's pretty impressive. Very, very clean. We're gonna go ahead and get these off onto the tractor, and then we'll see what they look like in the sun. And then we'll stand them up. I'll get some pictures taken, everything. We'll throw some water on it. And then we'll just show you what this pine can look like. Now these 2 were cut at 3 inches thick. These 2 actually will meet the specification of the customer. The last slab, again, it was just a bit shy on the width. It's hard to find a log of this size, to tell you the truth. And it's hard to find a mill that can cut that size. But with this Timberking mill, again, I can, on this mill here, I can cut 35 wide. Now, that had to be about the height that it is right now. You'd have to have your log stops down and everything tucked in, but we got 33 inches wide. That's pretty close, within 2 inches of maxing out the mill. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and get these off. That'll be a challenge in and of itself because I don't even know how heavy these things are, but we'll find out. And then we'll take some pictures, and then I'll send some stuff to the customer and see if he wants us to deliver these or he can pick them up. Well, there you have it, folks. I had to show this real quick just because this looked amazing. We're gonna have them back up into the sun a little bit, and I'll get some water on this. But that's pretty uniform right there. Those are some pretty impressive slabs. Now my dad's gonna go ahead and throw them next to our trailer, and then we'll get the water. But whew, what a log! That's a big log, and still got a lot here to do to still cut up. Well, I don't know. I might cut a few more slabs pretty wide like this, just to have these, because these are very pretty. These are very pretty. Look at that, even cutting through that nasty big knot. Oh, that's real sappy. But cutting through that nasty big knot right there, I mean, that is pretty beautiful though. Not that old of a tree. I think my son counted 36 rings. So 36-year-old tree, however, it was large enough to meet the specs or anything. We'll just see how this fares in the drying aspect and go from there. So let's go ahead and get some water over there, and we'll stage those slabs out and get some pictures and do our final thoughts. Folks, we have the slabs laid out here. Dad, throw me the tape if you don't mind. We'll do the tape again. All right, if we went to the outside of the bark, that's 33 inches wide. If we go inside a bark to inside a bark, we're looking at about 31 inches on that one. And that one about 30 inches inside the bark. Middle range on this one, inside the bark, we're looking at like 28.5. On that one there, we're looking at about 27 some change. and then 28.5 and 28. So I think we've met the requirements for the slabs here. Let me throw some water on here. Pretty stuff. Even though it's pine, it's big pine. So that would not be too shabby to have as a bathroom countertop. I like it. Even though it is pine, and even though it is like not that old, the growth rings aren't that tight, but it is very uniform sized and it's very clean looking. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. It is a pine video. Pine's usually not the sexiest thing in the world, but it is pretty interesting because it's big. I don't know, I have not cut, you know, I'm thinking back to myself, if you count as wide as a bark. So 33 inches, that might be the biggest thing I've cut thus far width-wise on the Timberking 2000 sawmill. Now my dad's new sawmill that he's gonna get here soon, ooh, I cannot wait. So if you do or do not know, we've got a 2220 on order and cannot wait. That'll cut 38 inches wide, and yeah, very much looking forward to him getting that mill. So please like, subscribe this video. Oh, one other thing I want to say is we recently had one of our friends up in Tennessee redo our trailer. This is a car hauler trailer that I got whenever I got my John Deere 3032E years ago. Well, if you know me, and if you know anyone who deals with logs and trying to haul logs, wheel wells do not do well. So we put 1/4-inch steel. We actually had some interesting channel stuff that I got from my father-in-law, and then we also got all this 1/4-inch plate here, but we made some Mad Max style fenders right here. These are stout. I do not think, based on the way that we have these braced up and everything, that we will have an issue with tearing these up, or at least we'll really have to work at it, put it that way. So a lot stronger and heavier duty than what was on there before. But that's another video, we'll talk about this some other day. But again, please like, subscribe, the channel is growing. I do appreciate that. There's a lot of things going on, and I cannot wait for the new mill to get here. The new mill, I can't wait to do that video. Plus we have another video I'm trying to do here soon, searching for sawmills. I got 2 of those in the works, so stay tuned and we'll see you around on the channel. Thanks.